Good evening, Central Valley. This is the next episode of Central Valley Moves and Shakers. I am your host, Kevin Little, and I'm glad to have two interesting guests today who are going to be talking about the positive things that they are doing in the community. Our first guest will be George Boyadjian, who is a local entrepreneur who also is active in the effort to get marijuana readily more available in the community, and he feels very strongly about that. And we also are going to be talking about with real estate, because that's an exciting time in the valley here for real estate. And we're going to be talking with Khushvinder Kaur, who is a local realtor, and she's also doing some other positive things. So we're going to keep it positive, as we always will try to do. The goal is as we said the first episode, is to show you that people are doing positive things in this community, who are striving to fulfill their dreams and are bringing an energy to the community, and who are just making things happen, moving and shaking, as the name of this show says. So we also encourage you, if you have anyone that you think should be on the show, who is doing something positive, who is moving and shaking, please let us know. We have my law office will field calls, and we will set up people who will be on the show, and my information will appear during the course of the show on the screen, but it's area code 559-342-5800. And just let us know who is moving and shaking, who's making things happen in the community. As we said on the first episode, it can be people in business. It can be someone who is helping some segment of our community have a better life. It can be a student who is just doing super well in school. It can be someone who's starting a new business, someone who's improved or expanded their business. There really is no limit. As long as someone is bringing a positive energy of some sort, trying to make things happen, moving and shaking in our community, we'd like to hear from on this show, and I think our community would like to hear from them. As we indicated, our first show, one of the important things about this show is we get too much bad news, and we don't hear enough about the good things that are going on in the community, the exciting things in the community, people who are trying to accomplish things in the community. Look all around you. Everything that exists in our community is because someone has worked hard and put it there and has established something, and didn't just do the bare minimum, went out of their way to create a legacy and to contribute to this community. And we hope that hearing from our guests on this show will inspire you to do likewise. So enough of the pep talk. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with our first guest, George Boyadjian. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is Central Valley Movers and Shakers. Once again, I'm Kevin Little, and I'd like to introduce our first guest for this episode, Mr. George Boyadjian. George, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. I know you've got a lot of exciting things to talk about. You are one of the busiest people that I know. You operate a number of businesses and also are active politically. So I want to get into all of that and give you a chance to talk about what you're doing and the things that are important to you. But first, before we get into that, just tell our audience a little bit about who George Boyadjian is, what your connection is to the community, and just in general, just introduce yourself.
Well, yeah, my name is George. My family migrated here to America back when I was 13, in 1990 from Armenia. So I came to America without knowing how to speak a word of English. I had to learn everything going through school and so on. But I never liked school. I liked business more. So once I graduated high school, I started getting jobs here and there, little odds and ends. But, always stayed working. I think the most time I ever had between jobs was probably about a week or 2 weeks. I've always stayed working every day. And I got advice from, a lot of relatives, I've seen a lot of, my peers and my friends' dads and my dad and my uncles always work. So work ethic has always been in me.
Do
Uh,
you agree that that's really important for the young people
mhm,
to see that their elders, be it their
mhm,
parents or other people close to them, are working hard
mhm,
towards a goal, whatever that goal
mhm.
may be?
Yeah, positive role models, of course, we have to have them. And we look for, in our relatives and our siblings. And when I see our dads or our uncles, moms, my mom has always worked throughout my whole life. My mom is a very strong woman. She's been a nurse her whole life. I actually remember I was a kid. She was taking me to the hospital with her, so she's always had a job. She's always took care of the family. She always took care of the kids. So she's one of the hardest working people that I know, and she inspired me a lot of my working, and my dad too. My dad's always had a job. He's always worked. So my uncles and my friends' dads, they'll, we always come from working backgrounds, and so seeing people always working towards a certain goal, whether either be finishing a school like my sister, or whether it be, working at a job, making sure your family's taken care of, that's somebody's goal. That's what inspired me to always work. I don't I don't know what not working is like,
Right.
and
It sounds like when you started out towards your
mhm,
dreams and you finished with school and you entered the working
mhm.
world, you were a pretty young man.
I entered the working world right out of high school, and I had McDonald's was my first job. I started working in McDonald's here on Shaw and Cedar when the day after I turned 16. As soon as I
Yeah.
turned 16, I already got my work permit. The next day, I had a job at McDonald's, and it's been on ever since. Um, it's important for people to always, strive to to better themselves, and that's what I always try to do myself too. So I'm never scared of working. You know, never got scared. I used to wake up at 3 in the morning, had to be at work at 4 o'clock. I've done all sorts of jobs throughout my, career until I found business. I mean, I didn't get into business until I was 25. It was the first time, my first business I started was when I was 25.
So what was the
But
first business venture that you really sunk your teeth into?
I started doing cabinets when I was 23. But before that, I had insurance jobs I was working at. When I turned 21, I actually wanted to start an insurance company. I went and talked to my boss. I got an insurance license. I went to talk to my boss. I said, "Hey, you want to help me out? With the insurance companies, help me connect me with the companies that you work with, because I know the back ends. I mean, I know how to market a little bit while working there. So I picked up a little bit of everything all the jobs I've had. I took something with me from every single job. So some jobs taught me how to talk to people. McDonald's taught me a great valuable lessons that I carry to this day with me, and I tell all my employees the same thing, which is McDonald's number one rule is customer is always right. The number two rule is if the customer is ever wrong, look up rule number one. So
That's a good way
I,
to
I
be.
took that upon myself to make sure I treat all my customers the same way when I started my businesses. So, and other jobs I've had where I learned how to do telemarketing, learned a little bit of internet marketing, or a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I took something away from all the jobs that I've had.
Right.
And well, finally, I was ready to start. I was 25. My son was 6 months old,
Right.
and I was just I was just tired of working. Not a 9 to 5, but I was just tired of never being able to advance, because I didn't have education. I barely graduated high school, never went to college ever. I drove by it a couple of times, but never actually said my
So
best friend used to go to USC,
right,
and he used to take me with him,
right.
so I would just hang out with him at the college. That was the only college I had.
So it sounds like you were a young man, had a young baby. You
Hmm.
don't you're obviously very smart guy, but you're not somebody who has a lot of letters after your name.
Right.
You had every excuse,
Hmm.
if you were looking for an excuse, to just fall into the workforce, take a 9 to 5, but you chose not to do that and to really pursue your dreams. Why do you think that was?
I think I was just at a point where I was fed up. I was I was tired of not making the money I wanted to make, and the job I had at that time was this is 2002. So back then, the job I had was paying me $10 an hour, and I mean I was paying rent. My kids, my son was fed. We had clothes, we had food, We went to movies. We went to, we had a car, and we had normal, regular life. But it's just that I wasn't advancing. I wasn't moving forward that I wanted to do. And so I thought the only way that I would do that is if I was to take control of my own destiny. And so I had this idea, sat there, thought about it for a couple of days, and started writing it down. I got a notepad and I started to write down an idea. For example, I had an idea. Okay, before that, I was working at a cabinet company. So
Right.
my trade is carpentry. It became carpentry. So I started doing cabinets, countertops, um, you know, working for different companies. I picked up again a little bit of everything from different places. And so when I was at the point where I wanted to start up my own business, I started putting everything together. I said, well, I know how to make cabinets, right? I do.
Right.
I know how to find a client, customer, which I worked at one other company that taught me how to do that, so I knew how to do that. I had some tools, and I knew a warehouse where I could rent fairly cheap, about $300 a month for, I think it was 1,000 square feet, so it wasn't even big. I said, well, I started putting two and two together. Had another, and folks, people in our lives that come to us, I stopped questioning why things happen, because everyone that we meet, we take something away from them. And one job I had where I was only there for only a month, and I was one of those guys, Kevin, that couldn't keep a job.
Right.
I couldn't keep a job to save my life. Like, I would always bounce around. I would get fired or quit the job on Monday.
Right.
Tuesday, look for a job. Wednesday morning, start the new company.
Okay. And so the first business that you started, George, it was had to deal with your cabinet business. But now fast forwarding 16 years, you didn't just stop there.
No. That kind of became snowball and became a whole monster of its own. So the first year when I started my cabinet business, and so I wrote the plan down and started it and got the first customer, and so it started. Did everything by myself the first year. Made no money, but paid all the bills. All my customers are happy. That's the only thing I cared about. Just customer service. Remember McDonald's rule: customers are always happy.
Right.
So my clients are happy. Customers are happy. Got the job done. I got new tools now. Now I have a little bit of a name because people are starting to refer. I'm starting to get referrals from my past clients.
Right.
And so I started hiring people. Second year, I hired 2 people. So my second year was just 3 of us, me and 2 guys.
Right.
Third year, I said, well, if I'm doing the cabinets, these people are going to need somebody to do the countertops.
Right.
So instead, I used to contract it out to other people. So I said, you know what, instead of me contracting out, how hard would it be for me to go buy all the tools I need? I have warehouse space.
Right.
Go the tools I need, hire someone to come work for me in my cabinet shop.
Okay. So here's something that I think probably people out listening are curious about. I'm sure, like everyone else, you had people around you. I don't know what you want to call them, the doubters, the naysayers,
right.
the haters. I think is what the young people call them. People who will always discourage you.
I didn't have a shortage of those. I had no shortage of those. So I'm 25 years old, 26 years old, young kid, starting a brand new business. The hardest thing for me at that time was finding employees, because no one wanted to trust me enough to come work for me. You're not going to make it. You're nobody. What experience do you have? You got no money. Your dad is a regular worker, like no background, no education. 26 years old. How am I going to trust you to come work for you? So I couldn't even find people to work for me, believe it or not. Not just that, but couldn't get a loan anywhere because I have no credit. So I started my business with no money. Basically anyone that wanted to work for me. I had a little helper, Sal. He's lived next door to me, so I used to grab him every day, take him to work. So,
right.
I mean, naysayers, plenty of them. Like, if I had plenty of reasons to not get up in the morning and just say, forget about this, but that wasn't an option for me. Like, I had no options. And when you have no options other than to go forward, and, like they say, you're at the rock bottom, there's no more bottom than this. There's only way up. So, and when you have no options, you go forward, and you just, like a horse, with the things, like, you just
move forward
and keep going.
So tell our viewers about your cabinet business today and how it's grown and the successes that you've had in that.
So about my third year in business, by that time I'm doing cabinets, countertops. I had a full-blown paint crew. I had a tile crew, 35 employees by my third year in business. Okay, my third year I did $978,000 gross. Third
That's
year in
fantastic.
business. No investment money, no credit, no capital, all basically my money,
Self-promoted, self-financed.
self sweat, self tears, and just literally ground up. So
Well, and you probably were working a ton of hours doing all that.
my mentor I had at that time was my landlord, and this guy was a self-made millionaire. He owned a bunch of properties. 70 years old, and he loved my attitude and my go-getness, and he just used to always come and give me free advice about business, about work. And he hated my old boss, so that's why he loved me even more, because I started my own cabinet shop. And so he told me like this. He said, George, what do you want to be? He said, do you want to be rich or do you want to be wealthy? He said, what do you want to be? I said, well, you know what, Ed Barry. I said, you know what, Ed? I want to be wealthy. He goes, well, George, let me tell you this much, man. You're never going to be wealthy or rich by working 8 hours a day. Business people, entrepreneurs, we have no hours of operation. We literally work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 366 on a leap year. We have no kid birthdays. We have no Christmases. We have no holidays. We have none of that stuff. And I was like, wow. He said, that's what you have to do if you want to succeed, if you want to set limits on yourself, like say, okay, I'm only going, I know a lot of folks like that too, because I see them. And so when you set limits on yourself, and that's the thing, you set a limit and you say, okay, I'm only going to do this much.
So if somebody is out there thinking, I want to start a business, but I want to work 40, 50 hours a week, take my vacay. That's really not realistic. You got to sacrifice.
You got to sacrifice a lot of things. And, working 40, 50 hours a week, sure, your rent's going to get paid, your mortgage is going to get paid, kids are going to eat. Yeah, you guys are going to go to soccer and all. You'll do all the normal stuff. But I call it the Homer Simpson life. Homer Simpson life is every day the same routine.
Right.
Same routine. And that's not for some people, and that's not for folks like me. Like I don't like having the same routine every single day. My work is exciting. My everything I do is different, and so you really can't set limits on yourself. You're gonna say, okay, I'm only working this much, or it's Christmas, I can't come. Like I have literally flown to Seattle, unfortunately, on my daughter's 4th birthday, because I had a big meeting out there that I had to participate in. I have 70 people coming that have paid money to see me speak in Seattle. And my daughter is very important. She's very important. But, if I don't go do this, I won't be able to buy her the birthday present she needs. I won't be able to get her the cake that she needs. I won't be able to give her the roof that she needs to have the cake in.
Right.
So think of it that way, So I stopped having hours of operation a long time ago. I'm literally on call 24/7, 365. I'm up and down California from Little Fresno.
Right.
So my business evolved in 2008 when the economy crashed. So did my cabinet shop, because we were a custom shop, and so that crashed too. So I spent the whole year scrambling, trying to find something to do. And I've always been a cannabis, enthusiast. So I was like, why don't we start doing business with cannabis? There are certain laws that I've passed. So look up some ordinances, look up some laws, talk to a lawyer, get some advice, and do that. And me, I'm the kind of guy that when I have an idea, I don't sit on it. I wake up in the morning and I actually start.
Right. And we're gonna talk more about that, because that's your next journey. Even when things went negative in the economy here, you didn't let that stop you. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to hear the rest of George's story.
All right, cool.
Welcome back, Central Valley. This is Central Valley Movers and Shakers. Once again, I'm Kevin Little. We're going to continue our discussion with George Boyadjian. When we left off, we were talking about when George and his business ventures reached a crossroads, when the real estate market and the economy in general crashed here in 2008. But as you're going to hear, George did not let that stop him or his pursuit of his dreams. Let's go to that time.
Yeah, that was a very trying time because 2008, the first 2 months were okay, but around March, April, May, March it really started to sink in, where it started really going down, because we were a custom cabinet shop, which means that everything we did was custom work. Custom work cost more money to produce. The lumber went up, labor went up, so it was costing more money to produce than it is if you were to go like a Home Depot or like one of those prefabricated places and buy your cabinets from there. So my business literally tanked. It took a nosedive. It took a complete nosedive. I laid everybody off. Closed down my doors. I didn't sell my tools though, because I knew I wanted to start back up. So I kept my tools at least, but liquidated some major stuff that I had that was kept with cash flow, so I would have some money for the family. But I shut the doors down, and 2008, the rest of the year, there was no cabinet work at all. So I picked up, I'm again thinking, what am I going to do? I was listening to public radio driving home one day, and I was doing a lot of estimates as well. I mean, I was doing, like, I didn't stop. I was calling people, contractors. I was doing estimates, but nothing was landing. Like, I wasn't getting any jobs. So
Right.
And I'm driving home pissed off, very upset.
Right.
What's going to happen? Like, oh my God, like nothing is working. I'm estimate after estimate after estimate, and nothing is coming through. I go, what am I going to do to feed my family? And the radio talk show we're talking, they said that, true entrepreneurs thrive in times where bad.
Right.
And I said, wow, really? Okay. True entrepreneurs thrive during bad times. So you take the bad thing and put a positive spin on it, and you look and see where in that bad things that's going on, like economy's crashing, where do you fit in?
It's kind of like what the old saying is, where people say a problem is really an opportunity in disguise.
Right. Exactly. Problem is really an opportunity in disguise, and I took that personally. And I went home and I started thinking. I said, right, so the economy's crashing. So there are folks that are losing homes. Well, how can I make some money on that? Let me figure out how. Tried many different things. I tried online marketing. Again, learned a lot of stuff, learned a lot of things. But again, I wasn't making any money, but my family still needs to eat.
Right.
And so we're getting close to running out of money completely here.
Okay.
So what am I supposed to do? I swallow my pride, and I have a contractor's license, and so I have all the tools that you need to do any kind of a carpentry job. And I promised myself that I was never going to work for anybody before.
Right.
So I swallowed my pride. I had no choice but to swallow my pride, and I went and got a job.
Okay. But still never let go of your dream.
I never let go of my dream. That's why I kept all my tools, because I knew one day I was going to get back up. I knew when tools are very valuable things. Like, that's what you make money with, and that's what was my money maker. But I didn't give up on anything. I said, this is going to be temporary. I'm going to get a job just to feed the family. When things pick up, I'll get right back into doing things that I'm doing, because I kept everything. And I still had the contacts of all the people that used to work for me. By that time, I developed a very good relationship with all of my workers. And I knew that everyone would, at the drop of a dime, would come work for me again.
Right.
And so with that set in mind, I swallowed my pride and got a job, being a foreman at somebody's cabinet shop in LA, as a matter of fact, not even in Fresno.
So just let me just stop you there, because I want to make sure that our audience who's watching understands this. You're still living in Fresno, right?
Oh, yeah, I still lived in Fresno.
Your kids are going to school in Fresno.
Oh, yeah, my wife, kids, everything.
You're going to LA.
I got a job in LA because I couldn't find work in Fresno. So I went over there. I was staying at my mother-in-law's house, sleeping on the couch, and going home once every 2 weekends to see my kids, because we didn't have enough money for gas to go and come back.
Right.
So I'm like, man, something's got to give, right? I'm like, something's got to come through. So again, I'm working regular job, and doing my thing, doing my job, making money, feeding my family. But these are the situation. This is what I have dealt. These are the cards that I have dealt in front of me, and I'm just going to play them to the best of my ability. And I made the best of the situation as much as I could. And so when I got tired of working at that job too, because as a business owner, entrepreneur, being self-employed as many years as you have, it's very hard to go back to the workforce.
Right. Like,
very difficult.
And I hear you on that. And the reason why, I work for myself too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not about me, but I know that it's really difficult.
Yeah.
For me to take orders from anybody.
Even think about it, to go work for somebody, and it's just. But on hindsight, if you really want to think about it, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, our clients, our customers are our bosses.
Right.
My client says jump, I say hi.
Right.
She says I want this done this way, I says yes, ma'am.
Right.
So.
And that's what some people say about when you're in business. When you're working, you have one boss. When you're in business, you can have 100 bosses.
100 bosses, and the bad thing. Not the bad thing, but the downside a lot of people don't understand about being self-employed is the fact that it does take 24-hour days. I'm in the hospital having a baby, and same day Friday's payroll.
Right.
I had a baby. I said, I'll be back.
Right.
I left the hospital to go make payroll because my wife went into labor early in the morning.
Right.
I had no time to prepare checks, so I'm at the hospital with her all day.
Right.
So I literally had the baby and went to make payroll and came back.
Right. And as you know, as an employer, the one thing you can't miss
is
payroll.
So as an employee, you can call in sick. As an employee, you can say, "Hey, I'm having a baby."
Right.
But as an owner of the business, as an entrepreneur, you don't have that. You don't have that luxury. You really don't have that luxury. And so when folks calling sick, like I'm sick as a dog, but I still get up and go to work because, hey, Kevin Little needs to get paid. He doesn't care if I'm sick or not.
Right.
He's on payroll. He doesn't care how sick you are. He needs to get paid so he can take care of his own family. And as an owner of a business, that's one thing we have to realize is that we're responsible for all these families. And these people work full-time jobs, and they're depending on us to provide them with their livelihoods. So it's a great responsibility that comes upon you as a business owner to know that, hey, I'm responsible for all these families. So that to me was a drive, just that by itself, just being the guy that's responsible for all this stuff. And
here's something that I wanted to ask you, because maybe some people think that, oh, if you're a business owner, you're just out to make money, and they maybe don't realize the pride that people who run businesses that succeed take in contributing to the local economy, helping many families and pursue their dreams. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That still is my pride and joy. I mean, I still have people working for me to this day, and I take pride in taking on that responsibility, because it's not everyone can handle that kind of responsibility. When you think into yourself, it's like, I've had times literally back in my cabinet days when the economy was starting to tank where I didn't pay my own rent, but I made sure that my employee got paid. And it comes down to employee relations. It comes down to families, providing the local, helping out the local families, providing jobs for the people that are, folks that we know or are members of our community. Even we might not know them, but they're still members of our community, and that's what it's about for me. That is one of my major driving forces, knowing that I'm over here helping all these people, my efforts, my ideas, my thoughts, my drive, my goals are affecting so many people's lives, and it's a great responsibility that I get. That's why I don't take it lightly at all. And I didn't get here just yesterday. I have several very, very good mentors that helped me in my life, that gave me great advice that has stuck with me and has been like my motto for my whole life. One of those guys, Larry Linder, local guy, Larry Linder, insurance agent here in Fresno. He's an older gentleman too. He's about 70, I believe, right now. But he was one of my mentors back then too. And he said that, looked me right in my eyes, and he said, "George, you don't want to just exist. He goes, you don't want to be one of those people that's taking up space. He goes, you want to make an impact. He goes, you want to have your name live on. He goes, you want to be somebody. I don't want to see you being just another person.
Right.
I didn't take that lightly. Like, I took that personally, and I said, you know what? I thought about it. I was like, why am I going to just exist when I can
Do so much
be
better.
somebody?
So George, I want to make sure we have enough time to talk about some of the issues that are important to you, but I do want to, every good story, they have to know the end of it, right? So what businesses are you involved in, and how are you doing?
Well, hopefully there is no end.
Right, there's no end.
The story
That's right.
goes on. The story goes on.
Right.
Again, bad situations, taking those and turning them into good things. Same thing with this cannabis thing. It's illegal. Everyone's scared. But if you do the research study, there are ways of doing things.
Right.
And it all comes down to laws and ordinances and complying with regulations and doing things by the book, which I'm used to doing. And so that's how I fell into the cannabis industry.
Right.
And I mean, I can say it on air too. Like, I've been smoking bud for like 25. Mind you, doing all this stuff that I've been telling you.
Right.
While smoking bud, okay? So when they tell you that marijuana is bad, I don't know if we're advocating for that or not, but I've been smoking weed for 25 years, every day, all day. That hasn't stopped me from doing anything either.
Right.
That's actually, in a way, helped me because I'm naturally a fast tempo person. I have short thoughts, and that helps me kind of slow down and gather my thoughts and organize my thoughts into different categories where I'm able to just think about the thoughts I want to think about and not the ones I don't. So I have a lot of things going through my head, and I have to kind of have a filing cabinet and stuff that I have to, again, organize all my thoughts, and this thing helps me with organization.
Right.
So I said, I'm going to get in this industry, and got in it little by little. 9 years into it now. Started the business March of 2009, getting on a whim from little city here in town, but most of my business I did was LA, San Diego, Sacramento, San Francisco. Literally no business in Fresno because Fresno has a ban.
Right.
Zero tolerance towards any kind of cannabis activity, whether it be retail, cultivation, or anything.
Right.
No land use allowed in
So
town.
you look to other parts of the state.
I'm going to other parts of the state. And, thankfully with the internet nowadays where you can connect with people, not just over the phone, but Skype, emails, and so on, I started marketing, and a little bit of information, knowledge that I gained from previous jobs that I had where I learned how to market internet marketing and build websites and stuff. So started building a website, started doing the marketing, and that's where I started gaining people. Again, working 24 hours, 7 days, 365.
Right.
Non-stop. And so when they said, George, go to LA, I went to LA. When they said, George, come to Sacramento, I went to. I've been to every single part of the state, literally.
And just so we're clear, I mean, obviously cannabis is a controversial issue. People have a lot of different feelings about it. But we're not here to try to change anybody's mind, however they feel about that.
Yeah.
This is a story about you and how you saw a business opportunity and you took full advantage of it.
I saw a business opportunity in a big way. It's a new industry, untapped. Most of the folks are afraid to come near it. I know a lot of realtors that won't touch it. But you know what? If you really want to know, cannabis real estate is one of the most thriving real estate markets out here right now in the state. Land, perfect example, California City, desert land.
Right.
You can buy an acre for about $2-3 grand.
Right.
Not cannabis zoned acre. When they zone a certain part of the city as cannabis use, well, that acre just became, right now you can get it for the low price of $250,000, undeveloped land.
Right, once it gets that zoning.
Once it gets the zoning, literally on the other side of the zoning line,
right,
the next parcel you can get it for $4 grand.
Right.
This one is 250 grand. But most real estate agents won't even touch this type of stuff because, again, federally legal. Like you said, it's a controversial subject. A lot of folks don't like to get into it, but we're Americans, right?
Right.
And what's free market economy, right? I mean, that's what drives me. The free market economy is what drives me. And When I see cannabis, I don't see cannabis. I see money. When I see
Right.
that, I see business. I see business opportunity.
Right.
It's available. It's the same as anything else. I mean, if your no matter what your beliefs are, if your belief, one of your beliefs is to make money, then you have to. If you don't favor cannabis, you would favor business part of it. It is. It's not like other businesses. You know, it's special and unique on its own.
Right.
But we have to be risk takers. You know, and risk takers are the ones that get the most rewards. And not just my opinion, but what I've seen in the past.
Right.
And
And-
if you're not a risk taker, then you know you're just always going to be Homer Simpson, and
Right.
I don't want to be Homer Simpson.
Right. There you go. There you go. So let's talk about this, and because we've got to finish up in a second, but let's say that somebody is out there watching you right now and is inspired, hopefully, by some of the things that you've told them about how hard you've worked, but maybe they still aren't quite convinced that they can do it. What would you tell them?
I mean, it's a mind state. You have to make a decision for yourself and say that what do I want to be in life? Like, what do I, me, George, or Mike, or whoever, what do I want to accomplish in my life? How do I want to live? Do I want to walk everywhere, or do I want to drive in a Bentley everywhere, or do I just want to drive a Honda Accord everywhere, or how do I want to live? Starts with I. And then once you answer that question, that becomes your goal.
Right.
And then once you make that a goal, you get a notepad, pen, and paper, write down how you're going to get to that goal.
Right.
And you can't stop, because that's the difference between, doers and non-doers. Folks that run into certain obstacles or say, oh, like, I can't do this. I don't believe in that. And I tell all my employees right now, too, we can't do doesn't exist. That
Right.
word doesn't exist in my vocabulary.
Right.
We do everything.
Right.
Anything you need, I'll go anywhere, do any kind of work. As long as there's work, we'll be there, we'll do it. So, and my work ethic has opened a lot of doors for me. So folks listening to this thing should get inspired by it. The fact that when you can't get without doing. You have to do to get. You can't just sit on the couch and say, oh, God, I wish I had $1 million. Well, if you go out and try to get $1 million, maybe you will, have it. So figure out the path is what a lot of people's setback is. But, like a lot of folks, you got to pick some kind of a path, and you got to stick to it, and
Right.
you got to get to it. That's one of the hardest things.
So one of the things that I was taught growing up, and it sounds like you go to this, go by the same principles, is you only fail if you stop trying. If you keep trying, by definition, you'll succeed to the extent possible.
Right. It's
George?
just such thing as a law of average, Keep doing it.
George Boyadjian, ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
thank you. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Central Valley, to Valley Movers and Shakers. This is Kevin Little once again, and we're here for our next and final segment of this episode, and we're with Khushvinder Gini Kaur, who is a local realtor and is also doing some other positive things. And welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. So before we get into your business and how you're moving and shaking, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you and who you are and what your connection to the Valley is?
Okay, so my name's Gini. Well, I go by Gini. It's Khushvinder Kaur. And I'm a local real estate agent here in Fresno. And I'm also a student, so I'm trying to get my bachelor's degree in public health.
Right. What's the dream there?
It's a personal goal. I
All right.
really value education, and I just feel that I need to have my degree.
How far are you along in your studies?
I am a few classes away.
Great.
So
Well,
really close to finishing.
awesome. Well,
Yes.
I assume congrats will be in order. That's awesome. So, how long have you been in real estate?
I have been in real estate for about 3 years now. That's how long I've been working in real estate. I got my license sometime, I think, end of 2014, so not too long ago. But I've been practicing full time recently. However, previously I used to do it part time, and
Okay.
yeah.
So, what is your? How long have you been in the Valley?
I have lived here for over 25 years.
All right. Well,
Yes.
great.
My
Great.
parents, they brought me here from India, so that's where we immigrated from. And then I went to school here, and here I am.
Great. So you, and isn't it wonderful that we have so many different cultural and ethnic groups in the Valley? Don't you think that's
We
one of the
do.
special things about
We
this
do.
community?
That's what I really like about Fresno. There's something for everyone. I really like that there are so many different cultures, and we're exposed to so many different languages, and the community is just wonderful.
Great.
Yes.
So you've gotten into real estate, and now you've got several years under your belt, and you're a veteran. Are you connected with any brokerage here in town?
I am. Actually, I'm with Keller Williams Realty,
All right.
and I just joined them recently. So it's
All right.
exciting.
All right. Where are their offices?
We're located near Palm and Alluvial, so
So that's
In
right near where
Fresno.
a lot of the real estate area
Yes.
is here in Fresno. A lot of the title companies, a lot of the realty, the brokerages are in that
Yes.
area, correct?
yes.
All right. It's kind of like our Fresno's little realty row there.
It is.
Palm, north of Herndon, right?
Yes, it makes it convenient. Everything's just located. It's like a one-stop shop.
So let's talk about every time that I've talked to a realtor, every realtor, like every lawyer remembers his or her first trial. Every realtor remembers his or her first sale. And without giving away any names or anything that somebody might get mad about, tell me about your first sale and the excitement that you had when that deal closed.
Oh my goodness. So my first sale was a contingency sale, which is the most complicated sale I feel in real estate.
And for those of us who don't really know about
what
real estate,
it-
what's a contingency sale?
So a contingency sale is basically, contingency means condition. So in this case, my client had to put their house on the market, and the sale of her house was contingent upon her purchasing a replacement property.
Right. So this is some risky business from a realtor's perspective, because
Yes.
you not only have to find a buyer for your client's property, you've got to find a property for your client also to purchase, correct?
Yes, and the first buyer that we had, we kind of fell out of escrow, but my client was loyal, and she stuck with me, and we found her a house, and somebody bought her house, and everyone was happy in the end. But it was really, really complicated. It's not as easy as it looks. A lot of times we watch these real estate shows, and we're looking at these realtors dressed up, driving fancy cars, looking fancy, but there's more to that. There's more to that. In fact, my last deal was also, the one that I just was working on, was also a contingency deal, but it was it was even worse than my first deal when I first started.
So
Very emotional.
And again, I like for our audience to know how hard you have to work to be successful in your field. As a realtor, you don't just work 9 to 5, right? You have to make sure you know everything that's pretty much on the market.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's like you're a businessman, you're a businesswoman. You work on the weekends. You work 24 hours a day. I have my phone with me all the time, even when I'm sleeping at night.
Have you ever gotten a call about a property at an unusual time or hour?
Oh, all the time, 9 o'clock.
Right.
Sometimes, I'll have clients texting me or calling me, asking me, well, what about this home? What does this mean? So
Right.
we have to be accessible.
So, geographically, how far is your sales area? Do you stay here in the Fresno County, or you do a wider area in the valley? Let us know.
I stay primarily in the Fresno, Clovis, and Selma areas. However, I am exploring outside of the Fresno area as well. Madera, Sanger is another one. But primarily Fresno and Selma.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, for those, again, people maybe don't know, but there's a lot of exciting things going on currently in the real estate market here locally. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
Can you explain
absolutely.
that a little bit to our audience?
Yes. Where to start? There's so much excitement going on. The market's great right now. It's the time to buy. It's the time to sell. Actually, it's a seller's market right now. Inventory wise, we're pretty good. However, we have more buyers looking, so that's why I say it's a seller's market. And prices, I feel that Fresno, we have great. The prices here are awesome. I mean, compared to the Bay Area, where you're paying so much, even rent prices are good here. But you shouldn't rent, you should buy, because you don't want to pay somebody else's mortgage.
That's right.
So.
Have enough problems paying my own.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So, and I notice, and I keep my eye on these things too. But I do a little have a real estate development business as well as a law practice. So, prices are starting to creep up again, aren't they?
They are. They actually went a little bit high just a few months ago, but then what I started to realize when we made offers and when we got to the appraising stage, a lot of properties weren't appraising. They were actually appraising lower because real estate agents were just pricing the property so very high. But they're down now, a little bit down. But I feel like they're right where they need to be. So when we market a property or when we price it, we make sure that that it'll appraise later, because we don't want any issues with our escrows. That's a big problem too.
Are you seeing in your experience already that you've got a lot of, like we saw in the early 2000s, a lot of buyers from outside of the area who are making offers on things sight unseen?
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get, and everybody's an investor. Everyone's a flipper. I'm an investor looking for something to buy in Fresno. So I've heard there's people from. I was watching a video about somewhere outside of Fresno, but there's people from China, investors from China, trying to purchase homes in that area because values are great and prices are going up. So
what do you think it is? What do you think that people outside the area are anticipating? Is it the high-speed rail, or is it just that the economy is a little bit better? Or why do you think people are becoming attracted once again to this area and seem to want to invest in the valley?
Well, I have some notes here,
Sure.
so I'm going to be looking down.
It.
Hopefully nobody minds.
That's all right.
I feel like one of the reasons Fresno's great is because we're really conveniently located. We are hours away from the beaches, the mountains, the snow, and my number one reason I like Fresno is because we have so many opportunities here. We have so many educational opportunities for children. We have some great colleges, we have some great universities, we have a law school in our backyard. There's a medical school coming up. I don't know, I was reading something about it in the newspaper that they're thinking about building a medical school near the Clovis Clovis Community Hospital.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So we have another professional school here in the valley where
absolutely.
we
And
can teach and train more of our own doctors here locally.
Yes. So lots of opportunities there, and then even job growth. Amazon is opening up a 855,000 square foot warehouse, and they're employing people. You have to be a high school graduate. I was reading, you have to be a high school, you have to have a diploma, and, you know, you have to be the age of 18 to apply for a job there.
So there'll be a lot of potentially long-term jobs coming into the community.
Yes, exactly. High-speed rail, like you mentioned earlier. But the most important thing that I really wanted to touch on was that the prices of homes compared to prices outside of Fresno. Sometimes I get buyers and sellers who aren't very happy. Mostly buyers, because they feel, oh, well, you know, that's overpriced, or, you know, that's not a good deal. But, you know, if you compare Fresno to other areas, you're actually getting a pretty good deal. So
that's great. So, you know, one of the things that I am hoping to accomplish on this show, as I said at the outset, is to inspire other people. So you're going to school.
Yes.
You're working full-time as a realtor.
Yes.
You're doing all of the things outside of your working hours to keep on top of the market. How do you manage to do all these things?
May I say one more thing?
Sure.
Most importantly, I'm a dreamer. So
right.
I'm a dreamer, and I help buyers and sellers, you know, purchase residential real estate. I'm helping the community, and I think that's a big thing I really wanted to touch on today.
Right. Well, that's
Yes.
fantastic. That's fantastic. And do you get a sense of pride when you help a family find their dream home?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so exciting. You know, there's a drive. There's something about it. It's a. I know we talked about cannabis earlier, but it's somewhat of some strange high you get when you help somebody, and you know, you feel really accomplished, and it's just a great feeling.
Fantastic. So what are some of your goals moving forward?
Wow, I have so many, but of course I want to get my degree. That's really important to me. I really, really value education, and I feel that, you know, it's so great in Fresno. You know, we have so many opportunities, and we should really take advantage of all that. And so I want to continue on, you know, getting my degree, and probably continuing my education after that even.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we're glad to have you as part of our community. Keep moving,
Thank
keep
you.
shaking, and congratulations on everything you're doing.
Thank you, Kevin.
Gini, Kaur, everyone. That'll do it for our show for today. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Hardworking, experienced, and capable. With a record of success over more than 2 decades, the law office of Kevin G. Little is one of the preeminent small firms in Fresno. We represent our clients in a variety of matters, including civil rights, employment, personal injury, general civil litigation, family law, bankruptcy, and criminal cases. Our firm also offers excellent mediation services in civil and family law matters. We approach each case with dedication, aiming to protect you and exceed your expectations. Contact us today at 559-342-5800 and visit kevinglittle.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com